Hello, friends. Welcome to the Artist Within podcast, Season 1, The Road to Resilience. I am your host, Adela Hittel, and this podcast is produced by Project Human Think, a new way to think about mental health. Our whole mission and vision of this podcast and our organization is to provide you with resources that you can take upon yourself to navigate your way to functionality. This episode is going to be focusing on coping strategies and how and why they are important for the being, the types of strategies, the types of beings there are, and how you can take it upon yourself to change the way you think, change the way you view your reality, the way your reality is, and take action upon yourself. Anyway, let's get into it. My brain is having freeze farts, and I am losing them as we go because it has just been that kind of day, and sometimes it is. I hope that yours is a little bit better defined in how you're processing and navigating and communicating. So let's get into it. Why are coping strategies important? Well, developing coping strategies is extremely crucial for enhancing your mental health and your resilience within yourself, and also just the existence of your being. You can develop tools to manage stress. You can navigate emotional challenges once you understand what everything goes. You're able to adapt to adversity easier, improve emotional regulations, reduce the impact of stress just in your overall existence. And we'll talk about that in our 40 inches as we go into and what that means. And then it'll create and foster a sense of control over your life. One of the greatest things I have learned in this process is that I'm a control freak, okay? Like, I am the Monica of Friends. My Monica closet has to be super cleaned. That right now currently is my garage, and we're working on that. But my Monica closet has to be clean. I have to have everything in order, and I have to work on that. And I didn't understand the depths of that until I started working on decluttering my own emotional existence and decluttering my mind and decluttering, again, what I want, what I don't want, understanding what my needs and requirements are, learning which way I wanted to navigate my life, what actions I wanted to take, how much responsibility I wanted to have upon myself that was mine, and what responsibility wasn't mine, what could I give back to others. So just by understanding that, creating boundaries, I was able to build more resilience and build more control over my emotional state, which is something I never thought I could potentially have, honestly. I have thought I would be crazy my whole life, as I have been told, and as I have been indicated that you're just crazy, Adela. It's in your head, and it's hormonal, and you're a woman, and it's just trauma. Well, it's a combination of all, and part of understanding and facing truth and reality is acceptance of those words as well, and then defining them to what they mean to you and how you're going to navigate your life. So again, how do we do that, and why do we need coping skills? Well, that's why. And we do that by understanding who we are, what our limits are, what our boundaries are, what our requirements are, what our needs are, and also understanding our own human existence. So let's talk a little bit about that. What does our human existence mean? One of the ways that I've learned to navigate the shift is understanding what control and no control means over my life, and where conscious and subconscious control exist. Part of my training myself is using a lot of imagery and visuals, because I'm a visual learner. I'm also an expressive artist, and so I love to create things and navigate pathways in my life that come with visuals that can speak better than my words can at times, because a lot of times I don't know what it is that I'm feeling, and I don't understand it, and I don't have the words to say what I'm trying to say. So art, or a different form of creative way, whether that's music, film, or poems, or even what I'm doing now, creating within Project Human and this podcast. It's all my way of speaking and narrating something that I don't necessarily understand just yet, but trying to figure out. So part of the figuring out is I associated my human existence, my being, my physical being, to that being of a tree. So if you can visualize the tree in your mind right now and pretend you're a tree, and that your feet and your toes are your roots, and that right there is something that you don't have control over, where you're born and where you're planted. That is your root. You don't have control over it. Your roots mean your birth, your family, your environment, your social construct, your belief, your faith, what's ingrained and given to you and as a child in that birthing stage, in that cultivating stage, in that moment of nurturing. You don't have control over what's coming to you. You are at the disposal of those around you and at the mercy of those around you and the environment around you. And for some, it's great. For others, it's not. And it really is just the way of life. And that is part of your life that you don't have any control over. And for me, I didn't have a control over my life until, and most of us, until we move out, until we're in our 20s. Where we're kind of starting to gain some kind of control, anatomy of our life and our identity, and trying to navigate that. And I remember when I was going through that, I was subconsciously aware that, and I'm talking about my subconscious was so strongly in control of my life that I was personally aware that I wasn't in control of my life. There was like a conscious understanding that when I was ready and when I needed to be ready or when I wanted to be ready, that I would be able to understand what was happening or regain that. But until then, it was my subconscious was in control. It was what was programmed into me. And what was programmed into me was a narrative that was of chaos, of absolute compassion and love, because it isn't something that I just have without learning it some shape or form, right? But also chaos and pain and this self-sabotage and this undeserving feeling of existence. That was all part of the game. So as the adult, right, you get a job, you go through this phase of life where you are doing what you think you're supposed to be doing, and you are following the steps in your life to go to college, get a job, get your first apartment, get into a relationship, maybe start a family here and there, and kind of start navigating this life. And in this road of existence and in this human existence as you're navigating, again, you are, at least from my experience, I was so lost in my 20s and so confused about my identity as far as what it was. Where was I from? Who was I? What was my story? Why was my story so important to me? Or why was the story that what I was told so important to me when I didn't understand it? Why was my voice or this this voice I knew within me was my voice? Why was that going against everything that I've been taught? Everything that I knew? Everything that I had no control over in my life? Why was I going against that? And becoming consciously aware of yourself is having these conversations with yourself, right? It's becoming aware why your body reacts to your thoughts the way it reacts, why your body reacts to the environment that way it reacts, and then why your mind reacts to those same situations. Looking and understanding when you put yourself in those positions, is that a good benefit? Is it joyful? Is it good energy or is it bad energy? Is it something that's going to fuel you into, again, that joy receptor or that pain receptor? And for me, it's always joy now. But so, we're in this stage, and again, for me, it was the 20s, and I didn't understand how I couldn't remember. Like, I lost 12 years of my life to just anxiety and stress and alcohol too. I don't drink anymore. I've been completely sober for about 4 years now, or my 3-4 years now, and like, no, not even a social, can't get me, won't get me, not even. Water and sweet tea is my drug of choice, and I love it, and coffee, but to each his own in that. And so for me, I couldn't understand why I lost so much time. I couldn't understand why I didn't have these memories that my friends, my husband, my family would talk about around me, and I absolutely had no memory. I was so disconnected, so dissociated, so so uncontrollable in my emotion, and I thought I was in such control. And to others, I was doing a good job at jobs, or I was doing this, I was succeeding, making my rounds, achieving things. But inside and within my mind, in my head, what I remember genuinely is it's darkness, it's bleakness, it's so much just noise and screaming and spiraling. It's just a constant spiral. Constant. That drunk feeling when you're like, when you get to the hangover part, and you try to get up, and it's just, it's like that. And it was constant like that, whether I was drunk or not. That was my mind. And I had no understanding of how to even begin to process that, or to even accept that, or just acknowledge it. So I went through that. I did the adult thing. Subconsciously did everything that I was supposed to do. And on a conscious level, as I began to take ownership of my life, began to recognize where my emotions were controlling most of everything that I was doing, when I began to see where my reactions could be better, where I could be more compassionate, where I could be kinder, where I could change the way I was perceived myself, that conscious awakening was something that, again, I knew from the beginning that was there, but I wasn't ready to be accountable for that, because it meant being able to have this conversation and say, man, was I wrong about so much in my life? Was I wrong about so much in my life, on how I approached it, how I reacted to it, what the words I said, the tools that were not, but I had no idea, right? And so showing the old self that grace now, and being consciously aware over my emotions and my reactions now, understanding what it means to now know everything about my life, and to take ownership over my 40 inches of existence. So what does it mean to have 40 inches of your existence? 40 inches to me, I found inspiring because I was an ROTC girl in high school, and I had an amazing mentor who literally didn't give up on me, no matter how much I had already given up of myself at 16. I genuinely had given up on myself. My vision of myself at 16 was that I was going to be a drug addict ODing in a bathroom of my high school, because I literally, that was in my head. That was where it was a clear vision. Even though I wasn't on drugs, I've never done drugs. It wasn't even I now can't even conceive the thought that was part of my vision, but that was an image in my head of the amount of self-loathing that I had for myself. And every time I said the word I can't, Surgeon Major Goodman would come and make sure that I did it. There was no I can't. And I think him understanding my story, also knowing where it was from, even though I didn't want to acknowledge it, even though I didn't want to accept the realities of my life, he knew the resilience that I had, even though I didn't see it. because I blocked it out. I decided that part of me just didn't happen. I didn't survive a war. I didn't survive a genocide of humanity by humans. Like, I didn't survive that. That didn't happen, when in reality it did. And to be where I am today and to see how much kindness and compassion I do have, I don't understand it, right? I don't understand, because I really, in all accordance of everything that I'm taught, I should be much more angry towards the situation and sad even. And I was, but when I figured out that those weren't my feelings, when I was consciously aware of what I was feeling, what was someone else's narrative, I began to change everything. And for me, once I started to change my narrative by defining what words meant to me, what word means to me, what faith means to me, what 40 inches means to me, and what that means is my home. My 40 inches, and going back to my point that I lost track of now that I just realized, the 40 inches was a concept we learned I learned in ROTC, and it was, your 40 inches back to chest, and it was just understanding the space, your personal space, for the people around you. And I had to expand that 40 inches to mean my home. So my 40 inches is my home. It's what's in front of me right now. What can I touch, taste, smell, be within this existence? What can I provide value to? And the concept of being able to be that to the person next to you, to be that safe space, to be that structure, to be everything that you needed to be, was something that I started to ingrain into my home. Something that I was like, no, my 40 inches, my structure is the most important. Like, if life and death depended on it, if this is where I'm living at, then this is the most important priority in my life. How do I ensure that my 40 inches is as great as I want it to be? How do I ensure that my 40 inches is secure? How do I ensure that anything that I reach out to, touch, taste, smell, sound-wise, I know it and I understand that. And it's taken me about 3 to 4 years to really process that and understand what that means and create the structure within my home. And now I can say that moving forward to the 6 feet, and that's something COVID taught me, was that our 6 feet distancing was I had to reevaluate the circle of my life. 6 feet means now, when I step outside the door of my 40 inches outside of my home, is that 6 feet valuable to me? Are those people that are in that 6 feet vicinity, is that a crowded space of 6 feet, or is it a 6 feet that I can actually navigate and manage and process and understand? Is it a good influence on me and my mind and what I want to be and the spirit I want to be? Am I a good influence on them? And understanding that I only have so much of myself and so much to give once I give it to my 40 inches, and I'm really consciously aware of my 24 hours I have now and where I spend them, and majority of it is spent in my 40 inches. And again, when I can and have that left over, as I go to my 6 feet. And what is your 6 feet? What does that mean for your 6 feet? For me, it means my family, my extended family. It means my partnerships, friendships. It means Project Human. It means the podcast. It means my creative space. It means a lot of the things that I want to accomplish in the world is that bridge between the world and my 40 inches. So my 6 feet has to be a good stability to whom I can turn to, my mentors, my creatives, the things that, again, fuel me when I step outside of my 40 inches. And then the world is just the world, man. I've had to learn that the world is just the world, and that world is insane, huge, and too big for me to handle, and I cannot jump into that pool. So I'm just going to go back into my house, really build that and fortify that, ensure that my 40 inches, my space, place, and time is fantastic, right? It's great. It's the structure I want it to be. And then when I step outside of that home, when I close that door and I take those 6 feet out and I go talk to my friends, my family, my partners, and my community, it is solid, it is defined, it is confident, it is structured in the way that it can be of use and it can be of service and not a detriment. And I believe wholeheartedly that once we get to the idea of conscious control of our own time, our own autonomy is within us here, and we have that just by controlling our home, controlling what we do on a daily basis, how we function, our behaviors, our actions, our reactions. It changes everything about whatever you want in your life you're going to get. It's done then. Like, it's just genuinely done because you did it. Like, that's the lesson of it all, is that you did it. You were able to follow through, commit. You were able to be disciplined. You were able to accomplish the things that you said and keep your word to yourself. And again, learning what it means to keep your word to yourself in your 40 inches, about taking care of the things you need for yourself first and your immediate family, your immediate thing that you spend 24 hours with, plus then your 6 feet, plus then the world. Navigating that is a lot easier. And our human existence is not meant for the world to navigate us and for us to swim in it all the time. It is meant for peace and serenity and compassion. And I hope that you are looking at your life and evaluating your life right now and saying, where am I at? Am I in control right now consciously, or is my subconscious controlling it? Is my 40 inches stable enough for me when I walk out, that I'm confident, that I'm not stressed, that I'm not worried about what's happening in it? Is that secure enough? And if it's not, how do I secure it? How do I come back within it and take a look at it and ensure that it's what makes me feel good and what brings me joy and what brings me the solitude, the stability, the peace that I seek? And how does the 6 feet around me, is that a good influence? Is that a good bridge for me to be able to step into the world, right? Is that a good support system? Having these questions and associating that within yourself will really allow you to navigate who you are, what you want to be, and the decisions you make. So I encourage you to take a look at that. Take a look at your 40 inches, evaluate it, evaluate your 6 feet, and forget about the world for a while. The world is just insane, and there's not much we can do about it. What we can do is what we can control here. And where are you in control in your life? Those are the questions. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope that you found some value in it. And if you did, as always, please like, share, and support in all the ways. You can find us in all of our podcast platforms that are available to you, like Apple, Spotify, and iHeart, and all the other ones. And then go to our website and support us there as well at thinking.org/TAW, and that is PHINC-ing.org/TAW. And just find out more information about what we do as an organization and what we're hoping to do as a podcast. And if you want to share your comments and your story, you can email us at info@phinc-ing.org. It's all on our website as well. So until next time, much love to you. I really appreciate your support, and I hope that you will encourage yourself to define your narrative and become accountable, responsible for your success. Much love.